Hey guys, my name is Ryan.
My name is Josh.
And my name is Iostux.
And welcome to Overwatch Central. So due to popular demand, a lot of people are looking to Season 4, what they want to do to improve. And with the sort of recent videos that we've done with Josh and Iostux, I thought we would sort of bring them together and make this big, compact Master Season 4 video, I suppose, talking about some really common questions and things to consider when starting off with this season to get the most out of it. We've kind of broken it down into 5 main sections. We're going to talk about the placement games first, then we're going to look at playing maining and learning new heroes, then on to group sizes, resolutions, and finally a conclusion just to finish it off. But we're going to start with talking about the placement games. We asked you guys on Twitter about what kind of things you wanted to know for Season 4, what kind of advice would you want from these two coaches, and there were a lot of questions about placements, and I think there is something that you really want to highlight first, guys, when it comes to these placement games.
Yeah, for me it's actually quite simple, and it's don't overthink them. They are basically just 10 more ranked matches for you to play. What we saw in Season 3 was basically that it's just a continuation of ranked, and it makes sense from Blizzard's point of view, right? They want to try and put you at an MMR where you want to be, so why not draw upon all the extra history of your ranked play? So where you ended up in Season 3 is probably going to be about where you place in Season 4, and you really shouldn't overstress about them too much. Have fun during them, play them like normal ranked games, and just don't leave your comfort zone.
So it's a shame that Stylus isn't here because I guess placement games don't really matter in that sense. But we did have a lot of questions talking about basically how to min-max your placement games. A lot of when should you play them, in what order. We got a couple of your questions that we're going to go through. I think Stux is going to go through and answer them. But the first question is from Yalmas. Shall we jump straight into placement games or wait a few days/weeks since there is a buff nerf patch that is expected?
To be honest, there is no massive difference. In my opinion, starting later into the season just means that you waste time that others use to get ahead of you. When the patch comes, you simply adapt to it. However, that doesn't mean you should delay your competitive journey and thus your improvement. People always overthink, as Josh said, when they should start their placements, what kind of group sizes they want, and how they should play in them. But really, they're just 10 regular competitive matches, and this is how you should treat them.
Another question we got from Ishada, which is sort of about how to break down these placements. Like, should I do all of my placements in a row, or should I take a break after 3 or 5 games of it? I know me and Josh, along with Stein Valk, played all 10 of our placement games as soon as they went live on the night. We were exhausted by game 6 or 7, weren't we? And I don't think anybody was playing their best by the end. But I think, really, the placement games didn't matter too much at that point. Would you agree there?
Yeah, I mean, for us it's kind of a special case because, we're doing novelty streams and we're being idiots and laughing with each other, and we don't have the free time to do it every so often, but just, again, treat them like your normal games. If you generally only play 5, say, ranked games in a row, don't go on and push yourself to play 10. If you're playing bad, then just stop, take a break, come back to it later. They are just normal ranked games. Don't try and grind out 10 games in a row if you normally don't sit down and play 10 games in a row and stress yourself out over it. Just relax, basically. And taking regular breaks is always good for just enhancing your play anyway. Like, you don't want to overstress, you don't want to overwork your wrists, you don't want to overthink games and start getting into your own head. It's one of the worst things you can do, so yeah, just treat it normally.
Stux, you wanted to highlight that taking regular breaks and especially warming up is important. Would you say that it's really important for these placement games then as well?
I think it's important for every competitive match you play, not only in Overwatch but in everything you do, to be honest. Being warmed up is a good thing anyways, just getting your hands used to the game, kind of getting that mindset again, and making sure that you're both mentally and physically prepared is almost as important as how you play in game.
We did get another question from TarPO, which was like, what's more important with placements, your best hero or the one that works the best? But this kind of comes on to our second point when it comes to maining, in inverted commas, heroes, and then also learning new ones. What would you say about this? We're a new season. Is this a good opportunity to keep going with a hero that you've been learning, or is this a good opportunity to learn a completely new hero that you've played a little bit but want to focus on a little bit more for Season 4?
Placement games are the first games of your season, so ideally you want to play something that you are very comfortable on, and usually placement games always accompany a little bit of stress, and adding extra stress on top of that by following the meta instead of your comfort picks is not a good idea. There's a difference between your mains and learning new heroes. You should pay attention to your win rate on your mains. If it's sub 50%, then you're treading water. Maybe look at playing another hero more as you're not progressing with this hero. And think about what heroes are strong right now. What heroes should players be looking to pick up and play? Ana, off-tank, or Zarya, Roadhog, and Soldier.
And I think if you're moving into Season 4 and you jump in, you think, yeah, this season I'm going to become a Genji main. And then it just turns out that Genji's not in the meta, and then you launch into your first 10 placement games and you lose all 10 of them because you're not used to playing Genji in ranked, and Genji's outside of the meta. Just an example, not an actual case perhaps. But that's just going to stress you out, like Stuck said. It's just going to put pressure on you. I think Season 4 and a new season is a good opportunity to start like branching out a little bit or pick up something new. It's like a New Year's resolution almost, but don't just like dive in full hold to it instantly and put all that extra pressure on yourself. You're probably going to be nervous anyway because the games have these big placement this big placement thing hanging over them. So just play your normal games, relax, have fun, and then start bringing in those new heroes over time. I think we're going to talk a little bit about specializing and how to branch out a little bit coming up soon.
For sure, I do want to sort of highlight my experience with, because at the start of Season 3 I wanted to focus on Reinhardt a lot more. It's something for Season 4 that I'm still going to do. There's still a lot that I can improve on, but I do feel that you get into this situation where you end up too comfortable on some heroes that you don't actually feel that you're progressing. And what Stux mentioned earlier about sort of treading water is winning as many games as you're losing. It doesn't matter if you're high GM or whether you're in silver. If you're winning as many games as you are losing, you're not going to go anywhere. Of course, hidden MMR has an effect that you might go up a little bit or you might drop down a lot more than you win. But overall, you're not going to sort of go through complete ranks by a 50% win rate on a certain character. It's good to have them in your backlog, sure. It's always good to be able to play Lucio and Reinhardt to an acceptable level. But you've also got to bear in mind that heroes like Ana, I think Roadhog especially right now, and Zarya are heroes that can influence the match a lot. And if you can keep a rather positive win rate on them, then you want to make sure that you are learning and progressing that hero as much as possible, because some heroes might just favour your playstyle more than others.
I actually got into a very similar situation. Back then in Season 2, I played a lot of McCree and Zarya, and they were arguably my best picks. And while I did play them in my Season 3 placements, afterwards I just came to the conclusion that they just aren't as strong as they were in the previous season, and Ana and Roadhog seem to be the best characters at the moment. So I just bit the bullet and went straight onto those characters, and I didn't think I would enjoy them really, they just didn't really do much for me, but as I started to learn the intricacies, I really think I would have regretted just sticking with McCree and Zarya. So while I think that in your placement matches you should stay inside of your comfort zone, after the placement matches are over and your regular rank journey starts, be aware of the meta and be aware of characters that at first seem really uninteresting to you, because they may end up being your new favorite picks.
I'm actually really interested that you've pointed that out. How did you just pick up and play something like Ana? Because you got to GM with Ana in a fairly short amount of time as well. Did you do anything other than just play the game? Did you look at any VOD reviews and stuff like that? Did you read anything? Or did you just kind of go in blind and just wanted to learn her via experience?
I actually went really hard on Ana. So I had a lot of time back then because it was a very chill period in my life. And I just played her a lot, but that's not enough to get good. I looked at other really good Honor players, mainly Ryu Jae-hong and Shipshagen, and I compared their play with the VODs that I am recording. Obviously, if you start a new character, it's really hard to spot mistakes, and it's even harder to fix them. But when you see what the pros do, and you combine that with what you do, it becomes very easy to see what you need to do different. And I started to see massive improvements because there were big glaring issues that I just wouldn't have noticed hadn't I compared my own gameplay with pros. So over the span of maybe a couple of weeks, I went from being an average Ana to kind of a bad Ana to an actually kind of really good Ana, and the only thing that was left after that was just dual queuing a lot, investing a lot of time, and keeping this very competitive and self-critical mindset. And I'd say that this is possible with any character. You really shouldn't be scared of trying out something new. If you are a hit scan main, then don't be afraid of trying a projectile character, for example. Just be aware that you're going to have a very rough start, and that it'll take a lot of time for you to kind of get used to this new character.
And I really do actually want to come in on the back of this and highlight the fact that, watching pros play and watching how they're going about it, how they're positioning themselves, what kind of things are they looking for. And you can do the same also with just high-level streamers as well. If you want to learn Pharah, I'll give a shout out to Valkyr, for example, who's like a 4.4k goddamn Pharah main. Like, going and watching these kind of people play and then comparing that to how you're playing and what they're doing and the differences is super important to improving your game.
It's probably the most important thing, to be honest.
A good question that we got from CoolTank2000, great username, is, should people be really playing only 1 or 2 characters during the season? I see this a lot. So my question to sort of both of you is, how many heroes should you be wanting to focus on at one point? Do you want to be a one-trick pony that's really good at a hero that's constantly needed, i.e. Anna? Or do you want 3, 4, 5 heroes that you should be able to play at an acceptable level? And how should you approach that as well?
The more characters you can play, the rarer situations become where you are forced onto a character you can't play, or where your lack of flexibility leads to one of your teammates not being able to play his best characters. Playing less characters, however, allows you to really specialize and get the most out of them. Generally, you want to know 1 to 2 characters of each role. It's the sweet spot between one-trick pony and jack-of-all-trades, master of none. Try to pick characters with similar skill sets. Playing both Ana and McCree is a lot more effective than playing Pharah and Widowmaker, 2 characters with very different skill set requirements.
Yeah, and I kind of want to jump in on the back of that. Like, if you are picking up projectile characters, then you want to be focusing on other projectile characters to sort of reinforce the skills that you're learning on one character or another. If you're learning snipers and hit scan, stick on the snipers and hit scan. But the real thing to take away is, if you're trying to improve, then you want to limit your hero pool as much as you reasonably can. So you're not just focusing on one hero, but you want to be focusing on maybe 1 or 2 heroes per role. And I'm not talking like offense, defense, that kind of thing. I'm talking more tank, damage dealer, support, or healer, and then just pick 1 or 2 out of those and focus on drilling down on those, because you could probably tread water, as we talked about before, on a lot of different heroes, but actually improving means you've really got to start drilling down and focusing.
It's all well and good to sort of say, if you're playing a lot of hit scan, to play another hit scan and stuff like that, but what we tend to find a lot with questions that we get in at Overwatch Central is that there are players that almost feel that they've been forced onto main roles like a Reinhardt or a Lucio, because they're smart enough to know that having these heroes on a team are detrimental to a strong team comp, but they don't really have the confidence to go against the grain and play something else. So what should Reinhardt players be playing alongside as another pick, and also the same for Lucio? Let's say, Josh, what complements Reinhardt's playstyle, and Stux, what complements a main Lucio's playstyle?
So with Reinhardt, think about the skills that a Reinhardt builds up. It's stuff like situational awareness, how to push, how to manage a push, how to read an enemy team as well and what they're trying to do. So I think Zarya definitely piggybacks on a lot of that skill set. Also stuff like the Earth Shatter. It's a very sort of game-changing ultimate. It's a very heavy initiator or counter-initiator, and Graviton Surge serves a very similar purpose. It just requires maybe a little bit more team coordination to get the most out of it. So I definitely think a lot of skill sets that apply on Reinhardt do carry over to Zarya, and if you're playing Zarya well, providing good barriers and stuff like that. Like, I see people get very paranoid about tracking, for example, when playing Zarya, but if you're putting your barriers in the right place at the right time, tracking can kind of follow naturally as you start dealing more and more damage, and then you start getting better and better results off the Zarya.
I think I'll have to say Zenyatta. Zenyatta's ultimate basically fulfills the exact same role as Lucio. However, I think Zenyatta has a lot more solo carry potential just because of his pure damage output. However, I think he relies a lot more on communication. As Zenyatta, it's vital to call out your discard orbs and to have situational awareness and vision of your teammates, so that people who dive in always have their harmony orb. And Lucio's positioning and Zenyatta's positioning also have some kind of parallels. Lucio tends to be played a little more offensively, always looking for opportunities to boot people off high ground and to engage with the speed boost, whereas Zenyatta stays in the backline, maintains his vision, and gives his team these opportunities to dive on the enemy backline, to gain invulnerability with his ultimate basically, and to dive in without much stress. So Zenyatta synergizes well with characters like Genji, Winston, or D.Va, and general dive comps in my opinion, and he's actually very viable in my opinion.
So we're going to go over the other sections. These are going to be a lot shorter, I feel, but the first one we want to talk about is sort of group sizes. We had a lot of questions on what is the most optimal group size. Is it best to solo queue, duo queue, plays a full 6 stack? So I wanted to get your guys' opinion on what the best lineup is, but also talk a little bit about how useful voice comms are, because we got a question from Hilama, I hope I said that right, saying, is voice chat that important or is text enough? Sometimes I feel kind of uncomfortable in voice. So let's go over voice first and then talk about optimal team sizes.
I personally played a lot of Ana last season, as you may know, and I honestly don't know how Ana can be played to her maximum potential without voice comms. I relied so much on asking my teammates for their ultimate progress. It was impossible to coordinate nano boosts on Genjis, for example, if I wouldn't be able to use voice comms. And Yes, there is simply no way around it. If you feel uncomfortable with voice comms, then you need to accept that it's going to be a major disadvantage, especially once you get into the higher ranks.
Yeah, absolutely. And then moving on to stuff like team sizes, the way I always treat it mentally is that solo queue is the default. So solo queue is just you playing normal games of Overwatch, completely standard. You don't have to do anything too special, you don't have to work out any special synergies, you should just be playing normal, vanilla, simple Overwatch. When you start getting into duo queues, especially triple queues, you might want to have some kind of plan in place to maximize the use of the heroes that you're going to be playing and synergizing with, and then using that extra synergy that you bring as a stack to then transfer that into the game and get better results. I think definitely if you're looking to improve and climb, especially if you're looking to climb ranks, duo queuing is probably the best way to do it, because triple queuing and beyond starts inflating the MMR of the opponent you're going against, and also especially when you start getting to 4-stack, 5-stack, 6-stack, it starts becoming a very, very different game as a whole. So it's easier to improve in solo queue and duo queue if you're looking to just climb, basically.
Yeah, it's basically duo queue a lot and grind. One important thing about finding a duo queue partner, let's say you're a diamond and you want to make the push for master, then while duo queuing with another diamond player is fine, ideally you want to queue with people who also have the same goal and who you are certain of that they can reach that goal. So if you're a diamond and you think that you deserve master and that you want to push for master this season, then don't handicap yourself by duo queuing with someone who's diamond. Obviously, it can be very difficult to find a master duo queue partner in Diamond. However, solo queue, in my opinion, is even better if you know that you are better than people at your rank and that you'll have trouble finding duo queue partners at the rank that you desire.
And this is more of a sort of final aspect. We want to go over the Season 4 resolutions, what sort of goals that you should be legitimately making. And the first thing I kind of want to go over is to set goals that don't involve the word rank or SR. The sort of rank areas, I suppose, inflate and deflate over time. It's like a currency, it goes up and down in value. What a Masters was in Season 2 was completely different to what it was in Season 3, and no doubt whatever a Season 3 Masters is going to be a little bit different to what a Season 4 Master would be. Not only that, even at the start of Season 3 compared to the end of it, there were a lot of changes within the game. D.Va was really strong at the start and then became almost never used. So not only is giving yourself a rank to aim for a bit of an issue, because you end up in the situation where you may not hit it for whatever reason. You might also hit that target and realise that it wasn't as difficult as you thought it was, because the sort of scene has changed a little bit.
In my opinion, using skill rating as a goal is not a good idea anyways. As Ryan mentioned, inflation is just not a good idea, and we don't know what the ranks will mean this season anyways. I personally use the percentiles that you can simply look up on Master Overwatch, and the great thing about percentiles is that they always mean the same thing. The 90th percentile always means that you're better than 90% of the player base. So telling yourself, okay, I managed to be better than 80% of the player base last season, I want to see if I can push 90%. That's a lot, like, in my opinion, that's a better goal, simply because it doesn't matter when you reach it in the season, because it always means the same thing. And you don't kind of frustrate yourself that much when you drop a tier or when you lose some games, because the goal is very objective and it's not running away.
Improvement. To me, it's the other way around. First you improve, then you obtain that higher rank and you will start going up. You've got to focus on those improvement-based goals, and the way you can do that as well, the best way to do that in my mind, is to track things like just very simple focused targets. So, you know, in the next 5 games, I want to make sure all of my ultimates at Soldier 76 are coming from good places and get huge amounts of value. And so you'll focus purely on your positioning, focus on coordinating your ultimates, maybe to get more value out of it, and just really drilling down on those individual aspects. From that will come improvement, and from improvement will come higher ranks. Do not focus on thinking, oh, well, now I'm Masters, therefore I am better. It's now I am better, therefore I am Masters.
One thing I'd like to mention that I actually learned from another coach, and I keep it very close to me, and I think it's very important, is that you shouldn't personify your enemies. In the end, the enemies are just pixels on a screen that make mistakes that you need to punish, and if you make mistakes, those pixels will punish you. You already killed hundreds of Widowmakers, McCrees, and Reinhardts. Just because he has a shinier icon in the next season doesn't mean he takes less damage or he can one-shot you. So don't think irrationally. Just because you are a master player and you see your first grandmaster player on the enemy team, you shouldn't be so nervous about it. He's just a player after all, and he's not that far off from you. In the end, it's just a character that you need to beat, and since you have beaten them before, you should know how.
And finally, as a conclusion, talking about resolutions, what are your resolutions for this season? What are you looking to improve on?
For me, it's to diversify a little bit more into more damage-dealing characters. I want to focus a lot on my hit scan game. I also, because I have a number of accounts myself, I want to have one more dedicated to solo queue play and seeing what I can do on my own more than playing in groups, just because I'm a streamer. I tend to play in a group a lot. And then, yeah, just keep on going and also seeing how far I can perhaps push Ana. My Ana play has been fairly consistent. I want to try and push it maybe to the next level and see if I can make it go even further.
For me, it's actually quite the opposite. I've had so much Ana play in the last season that I just finally want to return home and finally go and play a lot of McCree again. Obviously, I haven't played him in a while, so I know that I'll be a little rusty, but I think he's still the character that, for me personally, is the most fun to play, and I'm really looking forward to getting a lot more playtime on him in Season 4.
For me, I haven't necessarily decided which off-tank I'm looking into playing a little bit more, but obviously it's going to be focusing on sort of ironing out the inconsistencies of my Rhine, but also looking into playing a little bit more Zarya and Roadhog. Now, Zarya and Roadhog I do play sometimes in our ranked games. I can do pretty well on either of them, but I could do with just being a bit more comfortable and being a bit more brave to pick these heroes up, as opposed to just comfortably insta-locking Reinhardt and just accepting that responsibility. Because I think I could do a lot more on other heroes, and also play consistently on Reinhardt as well. But that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. If you do have any questions, then do pop them below in the comments below. And like this video if you want more coaching videos with these two in the future as well. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.